Take a move in the ring. You can hit me with the words you fling.
All right, that was Sage. We're jumping straight in with the funky one, Ben Askren. Ben, can you hear us?
Can you center me? Should I center myself? I can hear you guys. I'm good.
Whatever you'd like to do. Oh, awesome.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry for making you wait there. We're just finishing up with Sage Northcutt.
No, it's all good. Sage is a super nice guy. Are we live right now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we're live. Yeah.
All right.
We go from one model to another model. When did you start your modeling career?
Oh, man. I never wanted to get into modeling, but my good looks have been serving me my entire life.
Definitely. We now talk about the Apprentice, man. What can you tell us? Because Sage, he's pretty tight-lipped with what's going on.
Yeah. They told me not to tell you anything, except that I'm here. I filmed some stuff. And I had a good time. I did some stuff with Brandon Barrow.
Well, Brandon Barrow's been busy.
Yeah. He was working with Sage as well, I think.
Yeah, because he was here when Sage was here also.
Mm-hmm.
How long are you out there for in Singapore? When do you fly back to the States?
This is my last day. I fly at 2 a.m. Okay. So I was here for. I got lost. I was quarantined. I lost track of all time. I just was in my room pretty much for a while.
Is the jet lag killing you?
It's not that bad because my schedule hasn't been that crazy. So that means I can do stuff when I want to do stuff. So when I get tired, I just go to sleep. And then it's not like I want to permanently adjust to this time zone anyways. So it's kind of one of those things where, hey, if I'm tired, I sleep. And if I need to be awake, I'll be awake. And then whenever I need to sleep, I sleep.
Have you got any updates on when this show's coming out? The information is kind of shrouded in secrecy. Anything you can tell us, or have they sworn you to secrecy as well?
You know what? I didn't even ask that question. I figured it wasn't my business. So when they put it out, they put it out. I don't know when it is.
What has it been cool to be back around the world of one championship? You were traded, you retired, as the champ, and then you were traded to UFC. Now you've retired from mixed martial arts altogether, but you're back in the world of one. Did you catch up, I presume, with Chatri? And just what's it like being back around all these people you used to work with and alongside?
Well, I haven't. So obviously at the filming set wasn't like a whole bunch of one championship people that I knew or recognized. I guess just Dom Lau was involved. I knew him. And then besides that, I was at Evolve for a little bit, so it was nice seeing some of them. But it's been, you guys know the quarantine for foreigners in Singapore is pretty strict, so I have not, it's not like I've been out and about. I can see it off my window, though. It looks nice out my window.
Show us,
I haven't got to fully experience it.
Can we see the view?
Oh, you want to see out my window? Okay.
Nice.
Let's see. It's pretty, so there's let's see, can you see?
Which hotel is it?
Oh, man, I'll probably have to just tell you that or some shit.
I can't.
Be a secret.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Keep it secret. Okay. Sorry, John. I've just been barraging Ben with questions. I'm sure you got a bunch as well.
Did you get to work with GSP out there? I believe he was there too, right?
Yeah, I did not. I came in after he was. I think he was here last week, maybe. And I came in after.
Okay.
Him.
All right.
Yeah. So it's interesting, though. He seems to be doing quite a few things with one championship. I think him and Chatri might have hit it off or something. I'm not sure exactly what the deal is.
All right. With what you're doing right back at home, can you give us an update with your academy and who you've been working with and what fighters that have been coming through?
Yeah, well, I don't really coach any MMA fighting. It's really just primarily wrestling. I've been helping Macy Barber a little bit, and then I have a few other fighters who help coach at a wrestling academy. My brother and I have 5 wrestling academies, so we're just really busy with that. And then I've been doing a handful of media stuff also. I have 3 different podcasts, 1 MMA, 1 cryptocurrency, and 1 about wrestling.
Oh, that reminds me. Someone was saying that you are worth $28 million. Can we get some verification on that?
That is not true.
Okay.
Maybe someday, not today.
Okay.
I don't know who the hell would know my net worth.
I don't know. I just heard someone
It
sent a
was
message
in the
saying
comments
that you're
earlier. Yeah.
yeah. And I'm like,
No, $28 million. That would not be true. That would be really nice. Maybe someday, but not today.
Tristan here is asking, Ben, do you just buy and hold Bitcoin and sell off occasionally? How do you invest in Bitcoin?
Yeah, so I have not sold anything yet. I am a long-term holder, but it's kind of cyclical. So the last time I probably should have sold some nearer to the top and then bought some more when it went down. So this time when it gets close to the top, maybe in about probably a year or so, I'll probably consider selling a bit. But the thing about it is, and why it clicked with me so much is it just it spoke to me. I believe in it. I believe it's a separation from the current financial system, which is not great for everyday people. It's great for the bankers, and they kind of run everything. And buying and owning and holding Bitcoin kind of separates you from the system.
if you were earning, let's say, anywhere between $2,000 to $3,000 a month, your recommendation of what percentage of that would you invest in Bitcoin a month?
Well, obviously, I don't know. Everyone's got their own bills and their rent and everything else. Most people, and this is whether it's cryptocurrency or regular just stocks or assets, bonds, whatever you want to buy, but they do something called dollar cost averaging, where it's like, hey, I'm going to put in $100 a week or something, and every Friday I'm going to buy $100, and that's it. I'm not trying to time anything. I don't think I'm smarter than the market. I'm just going to invest a little bit, every Friday, every Monday, whatever it is.
There's Bitcoin, but there's also other types of currency, right? So what are the hot ones? What are the hot ones that you like?
Well, so the ones who claim to be just a currency, there's not very many of those that are reputable. Bitcoin is kind of the king there by a long shot. But the digital tokenized economy has opened up like a lot of really, really interesting use cases for things. So I'm not here to make financial recommendations, but I would just say to people, keep an open mind, do your research. There's tons of good books, tons of good podcasts, and that's like anything, right? If you wanted to invest in the stock market, well, I wouldn't suggest you buy the first thing you see. I would suggest that you go do some research, spend some time, and then invest in something you truly believe in.
I think most people, they don't do any research and they just throw some money in
that's
there.
the problem.
That's why I'm asking you all the questions.
Yeah. One more.
Everyone's got to do their research.
Well, Rocker Cat is asking you, Ben, do you miss the spotlight of fighting in the cage, the octagon, the circle, whatever you want to call it?
I don't miss like the fame part of it. I would say my favorite part, and the part that I do miss, and I would say like, hey, if I could wake up every morning and do this, I would do it, would be that walk to the cage. Now, a lot of people find themselves to be very nervous, and they don't enjoy that part. They think it's anxiety-inducing. But for me, that was always like my reward. And this is whether I was wrestling when I was younger or fighting. Like, this is my reward. I worked really hard to be able to come out here and perform. And so for me, I love that part of it. I love that. Like, they come to the back room, they say, let's freaking go. You walk out, you walk in front of the crowd, everyone's yelling, and it's like, okay, this is my time to shine. I've been putting in so much work, and I'm so excited to show everyone the work that I've been putting in. So for me, that was always like the reward. I always loved it. That's probably the part that I miss the most. And just like with anything, there's certain parts of MMA I don't miss at all, right? I don't miss one bit. And there's certain things I because that thing I was talking about, you can't really replicate that. So I miss that thing quite a bit. So there's obviously some things I don't miss at all, some things I do miss, and that would be the biggest one.
Primus Reborn was just asking, what did you make of Woodley's recent loss or losses? I guess he's lost a few back to back now. Yeah, what have you made of the fall of Tyron Woodley?
It stinks, obviously, that I'd rather him not lose. But when he has lost, he's lost to the champion, the number 1 and the number 2 ranked guys. So it's not like, he's dropped down and lost to a number 10 ranked guy. That's not what's happened. So hopefully, he can maybe move down a few notches in competition, get his groove back, and then find his way back to the top of the division.
What do you make of the division at the moment? Since you've gone, it's kind of flipped on its head again, hasn't it? Who do you kind of really see as the next top challenger now that you're out of there?
Gilbert Burns was supposed to get a title shot a while back. And now it seems like that's fell off the face of the earth. Like, no one's talking about that. Like, when's the last time you heard someone talking about when's Marty versus Gilbert going to happen? And the answer is probably never. Is that happening? Am I crazy? It's not happening, right?
I heard that they're delaying it until February, and then they don't know exactly why they're delaying it until February, because the only title fight that's scheduled is Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. No other title fight is scheduled for the rest of the year. And what do you think is the reason behind that? Because I'm thinking that they're waiting for the Khamzat versus Leon fight and seeing what happens there.
They would skip Gilbert. Nah, you can't. I don't feel like you can skip Gilbert at this point. He's maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like he's won about 5 or 6 in a row.
Yeah.
So I don't really think you can skip Gilbert. I don't think it's the right move, but you never know. Somehow Chimaev, someone earlier today with somebody, Chimaev has just gotten this incredible push, and it's like you don't really know what makes a superstar, but there's something about him that is superstar. People freaking love him. He's just like freaking came out of the scene and went right to the top. It feels like. So I don't think it's skip Gilbert, but to your point, until you asked me about that, I haven't thought about it because I don't really care. I have no idea why that fight is not happening. And to your other point is, Marty didn't fight. He hasn't fought since July, and I want to say Gilbert was like May, maybe, or somewhere in there. And so the fact that they're taking so long between fights, that's probably not a good thing.
Who you got on Leon v. Chimaev then? Do you think Leon Edwards can stop this guy?
Yeah, it's interesting because Leon Edwards, obviously, I think he's won like 8 fights in a row in the welterweight division. Chimaev has won 3 fights in a row right now, all in very devastating fashion, but he hasn't faced a top 15 guy yet. And so you're taking a guy who's not faced the top 15, and then you're bumping him all the way up to a number 3, right? I think Leon's 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. So it is quite the jump. And obviously there's all this hype around him, so I think it's the right move by the UFC to put him in that spot. I guess we'll see how he does.
Do you see George and Colby next as the best for those 2 guys?
Yeah, I don't know what's happening there either. That's another one that it seems as though it should be obvious, right? Hmm. I think George. I've said this before, and someone got mad at me, but I don't think George really wants it all that bad. They train together, so I think they probably have both have a pretty good picture of how that fight goes. So, sorry guys. When Colby's really pushing for it, and then nothing's happening, that's what that makes me think.
All right, I'll throw it back to John quickly.
Well, there's an interesting question right there. It says, "Who are the 3 best college wrestlers in the U.S. today?" That's a really good question.
Currently,
yes.
Oh my God! Now I feel like I have to go to the ranking. Let's see. Who are the top 3 right now? I'm just trying to think. Now this is very quick. So Spencer Lee would be. I think Spencer Lee. He won the Hot Trophy last year, which is the best college wrestler. So I think that one is relatively indisputable. Second guy I probably put on my list is Yanni, who's a 141 pounder. He's won 2 national titles. He's very good. And who's going to be number 3 on my list? Man, number 3 is probably not as maybe Nick Suriano, Dayton Fix, someone to that effect.
As of late, Ben, there's been a lot of talk about goats. Goats for this division.
Like the ones that eat grass or goat's milk or what?
The goats, the greatest of all time. And I feel like people get that like mixed in and try to mix it together with pound for pound, right? I feel like those are 2 different things. Yeah. Everybody thinks GOAT is pound for pound. And for you, at this point, do you feel like, or at this moment in MMA, in modern MMA, Khabib, he gets that title?
Yeah, I mean, when a lot of people were discussing that, obviously right after his fight, John Jones made a good argument as to why. And I actually put my input in. McGregor made a list. I don't remember. It was April, May, June, somewhere in there. And I made a list. And my argument would be that there's not a clear number one. It's not like, oh my God, it's obviously this guy. I think there's a handful of guys who have a really good argument as to why they're the best. And depending on which thing you value more, so is it their peak, right? The best guys they beat? Is it their competition? Is it the longevity? Is it the undefeated record? And so there's a lot of things to consider in there. And obviously people have inherent biases, and some people value longevity over opponent difficulty, right? So I think I put Nunez, Jones, Cormier, with Dan's probably out since he lost to Stipe, who'd be more relevant if he beats Stipe. Anderson, George, Demetrius, and Khabib. Definitely not Conor, though. Conor is not in the conversation, in my opinion.
Would you consider PED use as something that ties in there when you rank guys?
Well, so that would be the argument as to why you would take John out. I mean, I think if you take the PED and all the off the field, out of the cage stuff, John's number one. There's really not any argument to that. That being said, all that stuff exists. All of those things happened, and so some people kind of throw that away and they say it doesn't matter, and they say John's the best ever. And some people say no, that freaking disqualifies him. And I would lean towards me. That takes a lot away from him. The fact that he has popped, and the fact that he's popped a couple times, always makes me think like, okay, well, if you got caught, how many other times were you using? Because it's not like you got caught 100% of the times you're using.
Do you feel like it's rampant right now, the use of PEDs? Because there's a lot of guys that have come out and said like there's guys gaming the system even with USADA.
Man, I am not a PED user, so I'm not educated on this topic. I would think that the USADA tests are really hard to beat. I'm not saying you can't do it. And there are obviously, so if you go to USADA's website, you can see who's tested positive. And I think I had this discussion with someone a minute back. And over the course of the last 18 months, there was like one or two wrestlers who had failed. And there's like 30 MMA fighters. So obviously people are trying to cheat. That's absolutely true, right? And that's why that many of them are getting caught. Significantly more in a sport like wrestling or other sports who are tested by USADA. So given that, yes, it's obvious some people are trying to cheat, but I don't really know how you'd beat it. Then again, I'm not a drug cheat, so maybe I'm missing out on the ways.
Ben, another question from one of the fans asking you, Bellator, UFC ONE, which organization did you like the best?
That's a good question. Well, I would say that there were strengths and weaknesses to all of them. Bellator, kind of where I started my career with. And, the one thing that Bellator and ONE Championship have in common is that I started with both of them. I think my first fight in Bellator was Bellator 14, and now they're on Bellator 200 and something. My first fight with ONE Championship was like ONE Championship 13. So I got to see both of these organizations kind of from their infancy to what they've grown to now. So that's really cool. I don't really keep in touch with anyone from Bellator to this point. A lot of the people have kind of been rotated through. I do keep in touch with the guys from ONE Championship. I had a great time here. I love traveling to Singapore. I love traveling the world. And then the UFC, obviously, I had a really crazy year in 2019. I get along really well with Hunter Campbell, who's really high up, but like Dana, I still have no relationship with. So I would, I'd have to say I kind of enjoyed my time everywhere while I was there, but obviously the people who I have the closest relationship are people here with ONE Championship.
And another fan asking if you could see yourself in the commentary booth someday in the future. I'd like to see it.
I don't think so. I did consider that for a little bit. It didn't really. I haven't really had any huge opportunities with that. But man, I enjoy podcasting so much more. Just The structure of being in a commentary booth, I think I would really struggle with, and like being a podcast where it's like, you know, if you get distracted and start talking about a book you're reading or a movie you're watching, that's what happens. That's fine. It's no big deal. You just go on with it, you know? So I think the podcast realm suits me way more.
With that said, what are you watching? Are you a Netflix guy?
I only watch one TV show at a time. And I actually I had a crypto podcast a couple hours ago. And I asked my co-host if he'd ever watched The Wire. I don't know. Have you guys watched it?
Of course.
Right?
I wrote my thesis on The Wire.
Yeah, I watched everything.
Stop! Are you guys are you guys messing with me?
The Wire?
Me? I watched The Wire. HBO?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote my university.
I want to hear what your thesis is about. Tell me your thesis.
It was something about circle theory, like everything just goes round and the same, nothing changes in the world of The Wire. It's kind of, oh man, it was like 10 years ago, or more than that. I can't remember actually, but
yeah. So what?
It wasn't very good. No, I did get a good mark actually, but.
So what I think about it is what it does a really good job of, I feel like, is showing that wherever you are in life or your profession doesn't mean you're just like, because you're a cop you're good, or because you're a drug dealer you're bad, right? They show a lot of positives and negatives. So like you see, you know, Jimmy McNulty, he's a shitbag in life sometimes, right? Or Stringer Bell, sometimes he does some really, really fantastic things, sometimes he does some terrible things. And so you see like the pluses and minuses in it, and I think if you're intelligent, it makes you think a whole lot more critically about what everything is going through, everyone's going through in their own lives, right? You have more empathy for other people, and I think that's, you know, really, a really healthy thing to try to understand as many perspectives in life as possible.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite shows, if not my favorite. Glad you like it. We got someone else.
I'm actually. So this is funny because we're in Singapore, and I don't do drugs at all, never have. But you know, in season 3 they do the free zone, and I enjoy a lot of libertarian theory, the government type, and you know, a lot of libertarians say you should legalize drugs because who gains, right? The criminal organizations gain from the drug trade, and if you were able to eliminate that source of revenue, you would eliminate a lot of the criminal activity. Whether that's true or not, I think it's fascinating that they tried it in season 3, and you know, I think they tried to kind of put it in a positive light. With that being said, obviously there were some negatives that went along with it, and now in America, I don't know if you pay attention, but pot has probably now been legalized in like 15 to 20 states. But in Oregon, they just recently legalized more hard drugs. So I think we're going to get to see a real trial of whether it actually works or not.
Yeah,
should they do Amsterdam or something?
Amsterdam, yeah, there we go. You know what you're talking about.
I was obsessed with that show.
All drugs are legal in Portugal? Yeah, I think in Portugal all drugs
Portugal, really?
Yeah, I believe all drugs are legal. But you're right. In the U.S., Oregon is the first state to kind of legalize the I guess Class A or whatever drugs. See how that works out.
Yeah, I mean, I know with Seattle and with San Francisco, I traveled there, you know, mid 2005, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. And then went back about a decade later after they had legalized marijuana, and I could not believe the rise in the amount of like homelessness, vagrant-looking people around. And to that, now you may be like, well, it doesn't look that good here, but you know, and the other one, everyone would congregate there because it's the only place it is legal, right? At that point in time, there was only like 3 or 4 places in America where it's legal. They're decriminalized in Portugal. Dealing is still a hard no. Well, how can it be legal if no one can deal it?
Yeah, I didn't get
that.
How does Denver look, Ben? If that's what happened to San Francisco and Seattle, so Denver.
Denver had a few. I was actually there in July. They had a few like tent type encampment cities set up. And then Austin, I think, is legal also. So I think everyone who wants to smoke pot in Texas has moved to Austin because it is definitely illegal everywhere else in Texas.
That's
And what about your favorite film? Someone was asking as well. We talked about The Wire. Favorite movie?
Well, yeah. Don't give me spoilers. I'm midway through the 4th season. There's 5 seasons.
Okay.
I'm not all the way done yet, so don't ruin it for me. Season 4 is a little down though because they killed off a lot of the really good characters from earlier, and now they're developing these new characters. My favorite film would be probably Happy Gilmore.
oh, classic.
Great movie.
Classic.
Chatri, Dana, and Scott, who would you have a beer with, do business with, and talk fights with? I think that's like a shoot, marry, kill thing.
Shoot, marry, kill. It's fun. It's a fun game there. Let's see. Well, I don't drink. Let's see. So, talk business. I would actually say Chatri to all of these, but if I had to pick a different one, I'd probably talk business with Chatri because he's very intelligent there, and I enjoy that. I'd probably talk fights with Dana because that's probably about the only thing we have in common. And I guess I'd have a beer with Scott, and who knows what we talk about.
Okay, a few more questions. John, I've been hogging it again. Go for it.
Ben, has there been any country that you wanted to compete in? It just never, worked out for you?
Yeah. When I was over here, I would have really loved to fight in Tokyo, but that kind of happened way towards the end of my time. I actually might have done with one championship by the time they went to Tokyo. So that would have been cool because obviously, when I started watching fighting, Pride was a relatively large organization, so you always kind of heard about it and heard stories. I never fought there because I wasn't quite fighting yet. I was just watching it. So it would have been really cool. And the other one that was I was really pumped about, I lost so much money on this because I had a bunch of friends, and we rented a huge Airbnb in Bangkok, a huge Airbnb in Koh Samui, and I paid for them up front. And then the king passed away in Thailand, so they shut down all events. Remember this was like 2016? Yeah, 2016, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a few years back.
So I was supposed to fight December of 2016, and the fight fell out. So that was highly unfortunate. So those two would have been a lot of fun.
Pride, who were you guys back then? Who were the ones that you were basically cheering for, you were fans of?
Yeah, obviously Fedor was a big one, and then a couple of the American, Kevin Randleman, Mark Coleman, some of the American wrestlers.
Do you rank Fedor as number one heavyweight of all time next to, like a Stipe or Kane, or do you rank those guys much higher?
I don't think so. Yeah, Fedor lost quite a bit of steam by sticking around. He lost a lot of fights. And I would say, even when he lost to, who did he lose to in 2010 maybe? Dan Henderson, Antonio Silva. I don't recall the third one. Verdum, right? There's 3 of them. He was still relatively young there. I want to say he was 32 only. So it wasn't he was way older. So I think that kind of knocked him down a few pegs. So, yeah, at this point, I would probably say Stipe is the guy that you're going to say is the best of all time, in my opinion.
We got a little update on the Portugal drug scene. Apparently, possession you don't get charged for, and Portugal decriminalized it. It's not legal. Just so you know. There you go.
Got it. Hey guys, I got 2 minutes left because I got to do another interview at 1:30.
Sure,
so give me your hardest question.
I'll throw it to John. Give one more for Ben.
All right. Who do you got? Break it down with Usman versus Gilbert Burns. That's the division well.
Oh, man. I think I would probably go with Usman. I think he'll be able to get the takedowns. I know obviously Gilbert Burns is a high level black belt, but I think Marty will probably be able to get the takedowns, and I don't really see too much of a discrepancy in the striking. I think they're about relatively the same level.
Do you think Usman will be able to become the greatest welterweight of all time with the skill set that he has?
God, I hope not.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Let's see. Let me answer the question for real. I would say he's going to have to pick up his volume. He's not going to become the greatest of all time by fighting. But he fought March of 2019. He didn't fight again until July of 2020. And now he doesn't have a fight on the calendar, right? Mm-hmm. So if he were to ever eclipse George, he's going to have to start kind of putting 2 and 3 a year together. Otherwise, it's unfathomable.
One last thing. Should George come back?
I don't think so. He's happy.
Man,
thank
Ben
you,
Askren.
man.
Yeah, we
All right, see you guys.
That was super fun.
Have a good day.
You too, mate. Thank you so much.